Thank you for tuning in to another episode with Mrs. Danielle DeVita. I am a relationship and femininity coach. I've been married for going on 14 years. My goal is to help both men and women be in relationships that's best for them. I often say that for women, the main reasons why they're in unhealthy relationships is because they're in relationships longer than they should be in. So they don't know when to get out of an unhealthy relationship. And we'll go a little bit more into that today. And they lack femininity. I had a series on femininity and wisdom, and actually, my series this year is about wisdom. So I talked about how femininity and wisdom can intertwine. So we'll talk a little bit about how to use this wisdom in your relationship, or how to hear from wisdom, or is it your insecurities talking? Because a lot of time people are saying, well, I think I'm doing the right thing, and then I end up having all these negative consequences when it wasn't wisdom. It wasn't that, you thought this was wisdom and it wasn't. It was really your insecurities talking. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. And a lot of times people are in relationships or just doing things that have negative consequences, and they know other people went through it. They've done it themselves, and they think, okay, well, maybe I can be smarter about it and avoid the consequence. But when you are mature, you're going to say, I'm not even going to put myself in a predicament that's going to ultimately provide a negative consequence. So we're going to talk about a little bit more how to understand if it's wisdom even speaking to you at all. When we are in relationships, we are told, there's, sensories, things like that tells us, you know what, something's not right with this person. Something's not right with this relationship. This isn't healthy. What they did isn't healthy. That's all discernment. And we typically, if you're in the Bible, we typically hear this term discernment when in regards to hearing from the Holy Ghost, right? But wisdom is a part of that. Wisdom, whether you are, and wisdom is pretty much having the knowledge to be able to do things in a godly way. And you can be a wise person out in the world on worldly knowledge. But again, we're talking about, if you are Bible based, we are talking about someone who knows how to use wisdom and use it, and not just in the church, but you can actually use it in your daily life. If you go to Proverbs 2, you can actually see where wisdom is telling you how not to fall in a trap of being with a man who is no good for you. They use a term, an evil man or a seductress woman. They use those terms. So wisdom is even helping you in your relationships to not fall in the trap of someone who is not good for you. You can also use this in terms of friendship, not to even walk with those who are not living in a good way, right? We have people who are friends with those who are, towing the line, morally and legally. So you want to make sure that it's not your insecurity saying, well, I want to be with this person because I have a need. I'm desperate. I have a need to be wanted. Because what will happen is that insecurity is going to match with the other person's insecurity, their want for control, or maybe they're also need to be with someone. So if you're in a relationship with someone who is needy and you yourself are needy, or maybe they're controlling and you're needy, this is why you've gotten together. It was your insecurity that's pushing you toward this person. Not wisdom wasn't telling you to be with this person. Wisdom didn't say that was your wife, that was your husband, that was the person you were supposed to have a child with. That was your lust speaking. That was your insecurity of wanting to be needed. That was your want to feel loved, or whatever this insecurity is. Because if that same person was whole and healthy and didn't feel the need to be loved or wanted, they would easily spot out that this person is controlling, or maybe they're needy as well, because you don't feel like you have that need. So it's easy for you to be able to see clearly. So many people are in relationships with those who also do not have good character. This is why I say it's important to be with one who has good character. A lot of times it's because you yourself may not have it. And I know it may sound bad, and it's not me judging you. It's me saying, just like you have insecurities, and while you're in this relationship, that other person was a magnet to you because they also have some type of insecurity. And the same way, you may not have, morals or values that are substantial, or fundamental, that's going to help in your development in a positive way. They may not have that as well. They may not have good character building skills, and maybe it could be how you've grown up. But now that you are old enough, you can change that. And so when you are, and a good way to say, look at someone for their character is, If you're with a man who leads with his wallet, most likely he's leading because he doesn't believe that his character is a determining factor of why you should be with him. He doesn't believe that his character has enough value to be with you. So he thinks that because his money does, he is going to lead with that. And if you are someone who yourself does not have good character, you will overlook the qualities that is needed for a person to have good character. And you may say, well, money is important to me. So this is why that's a magnet. Your want and love for money, or your lust for whatever it is, and this person is offering something that you want. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a woman wanting a man for his money, but it could also be a man, his want for lust, and a woman knows that, so she seduces him. And a lot of times we use some of these feminine qualities that, oh, she's feminine on the outside, oh, she's soft and she's this, but really she's a seductress, and that is not feminine at all. Although you're using some type of trait that will qualify as a feminine trait, you're using it in a manipulative way that is actually contradictory of wisdom, according to Proverbs 2. And actually, there's several areas in Proverbs where it even goes into depth about a seductress woman, a woman who is using her body or manipulating men and doing things like that. This is the opposite of wisdom. So that is not feminine at all. So a lot of times women get that confused as far as femininity being soft and sexy. But if you're using that in a manipulative way, if you're using it in a conniving way, if you're using it in a seductress way, that is far from wise and far from femininity. And it's quite evil, actually. Just like they talk about the evil man, the seductress woman is also, it is synonymous with the evil man. And when you are talking about a man who puts money first, because it talks about the love of money, right, is the root of all evil. So if money is a priority to this man, and he knows that money is a priority to you, you will overlook the qualities that are necessary for a man, not realizing that a person who has good character is going to do what it takes to get the money that's needed to make sure that you are happy. Not to say that you'll be a rich person, you'll have a luxe life, but you'll be comfortable. And many times women don't want to be comfortable. They want to be comfortable, but they don't want the work. That is the uncomfortable part, the work it takes to actually get to that comfort level, right? And because a lot of times we see what we want, but we don't want the work that it takes to get it. And it's really sad that sometimes that people who are nice, and this is why I did a video on nice guys and good girls. And what I meant by that, of course, is a play on word. But what I truly mean about this is not that you being a good person or a nice person isn't going to give you the opportunity to have your character viewed in a positive way or add value to someone. But it's the fact that you are insecure in yourself, that you don't see that you have value. So you rely on the insecurities that you do have. Maybe your body, maybe your looks or your clothes, your money, whatever it is, other things that you have to offer. So you may want to take a look to see why. What is it that I'm not happy about? Am I not happy with my body? Am I not happy with maybe my charisma? Maybe it's something about your personality that you don't feel happy about, that you're relying on these other things that you think is an attribute, but it really is an insecurity. So understanding who you are as a person, making sure that you're complete as a person and whole enough as a person, you won't need to find someone to complete you. You will find someone that's complementary to you, right? And if you learn to do that, be a whole, healthy, and happy person, you in turn can make sure that you're with someone who you can actually readily available observe and see, someone who can offer that kind of value and complement the character attributes that you have, rather than try to complement a need that you have. You don't want someone to complement a need that you have, but complement an attribute that you have. So, and when we think about attributes, if you think of salt and pepper, the attributes that each of those have coming together will make a really big, a meal really great. But if there's a need, if there's a lack of salt, putting more pepper isn't going to give it the level of salt that it needs. So that's why you do not want someone to try to complete and pour more into you. because then it's going to be too peppery, right? So as you can see, I'm trying to use a metaphor of salt and pepper to relationships. So you want, again, complementary. So that means you need to have all of the ingredients that's necessary for you, and they have all of the attributes and ingredients that's necessary for them to be a whole and healthy person. And when you come together, it'll make a robust dish, right? A robust seasoning for a dish. And if you are someone who is like, is this wisdom? I need to know. The best way to understand that if this is wisdom, if this person has good character, is if you build yourself up where you are lacking, where you have those insecurities. Building yourself up, you'll be able to see, okay, now that I'm good, now that I'm healthy, now let me find someone else who has that same level of health about themselves. Then you'll be able to see, okay, why is this person controlling? Do they feel like they have no control over their own lives, so they want to control me? Let's explore that. Let's talk about it. Do I want to be with someone while they're even on that journey to trying to explore themselves? You want to make sure you're with someone who understands their feelings and their thoughts and not lashing out because they don't know how to control and come to terms and acknowledge those feelings and be able to do something about it. Because understanding that the feelings you have not necessarily is wrong, but how you handle those feelings is important. And that comes with wisdom. Understanding, I'm angry. I'm uncomfortable. I feel unsafe. I don't feel valued. And then ask yourself, why? Why is that? And that's how you can explore on working on being a healthier you, rather than saying, no, I'm good, I'm fine. Or saying everyone else has these issues, so it must be, it must be true. Rather than saying, you know what, everyone else is just pouring out their negative experiences on relationships. And I've subscribed to that ideology that all men are this, or all women are this, or all Black people are this, or all, because there are people who are moving from one relationship to another or one race to another because they think something's wrong with another race based on a past experience they've had or they heard other people have. And they've adopted that for that to be their own story. And it's not the case. It's an insecurity in you that's reaching out to an insecurity in someone else. And because you overlook the character, because you overlook the values and the standards that are necessary for a relationship to work, you've relied on that insecurity and they fed into your insecurity as well. And now you're paired together. And then instead of leaving that unhealthy relationship, you stayed in it because you felt like that was time invested when you were already investing in something that was going down the drain anyway. You're not going to get anything on that investment. It was already trash when you've invested in it. And knowing when to pull out of that type of relationship and said, you know what, I'm going to cut my losses and move on to a better me. We stay in these relationships and then we blame the other person. You stay in a relationship for years and then now you're bitter because that relationship that lasted so long has corroded you at the core, rather than you taking that small hit and mending that broken heart at that moment and saying, I'm going to grow from here. And this is not to say that you don't have a reason to be angry or a reason to be sad, but what I want is for us to look at ourselves and say, where could I have done things better? That's part of wisdom. Where could I have done things better? Because if not, you're going to keep going doing the same thing, because now it's going to be everyone else's fault and not yours. So everyone has a fault because everyone has a role they played, whether it's they overlooked something, whether they've actually done something, whether they dismissed something. Understanding that is part of maturity and wisdom. Understanding where the downfall came, where the fault was, where the root of the issue is, and how can I fix it from here. And my goal is to help you understand that. Not to judge you, but to help you want to grow. Because you are your own brand. You represent you. We're so busy buying other people's brands and labels and clothes and not understanding that we have a brand that we need to protect as well. And we need to have a quality brand. And that includes how we represent ourselves in relationship, how we even represent ourselves, how we even feel about ourselves, right? Our actions, because when you think about an actual brand, they have to represent themselves well in the public eye, because if not, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny. And you and your relationships, depending on how you behave, act, what you say, and what you do, can be scrutinized. It's not me scrutinize you, but others can. and what they see can be their reality. So to change that, you want to find a way to be mature and grow from these insecurities you have into a healthy person. Because I always say the main reason why I do what I do is because not only do I want you to be healthy and you to be with a person who is healthy, but I want you to surround yourself with friends and everyone who is healthy. Of course, we all can grow and mature along the way. No one's perfect. But if you can get to that place, by the time you all have children and then your children have children, we have a society that now is grounded on principles and rules rather than moving on learning more knowledge, but getting more foolish every step of the way. And how we handle relationships, all forms of relationships. So again, this has to do with relationships between husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, but you can take these in your other relationships, because all of these are applicable. You want to be wise in every relationship that you have. You want to make sure you're not friends with someone based on the insecurity you have, a need to be wanted, a need to feel special. Maybe it's a jealousy is an insecurity, or always wanting what someone else has and not being not necessarily complacent, but not being content with what you have. Because I'm not saying you have to be complacent, but being content with what you have is a form of gratitude. And that is a very feminine trait. Well, both men and women should be, grateful. But if you're a woman, that is a feminine trait, to learn to be grateful for what you have and not to always feel like you have to always have the next biggest and best thing. There's nothing wrong with inspiration. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to be the best. But ask yourself, are you doing it so you can show others up? So you can look like the power couple, so you can look like you have it all? Or are you doing it because it's something that you really want to do? Because a lot of times people are in relationships that's unhealthy because they're trying to have these relationship goals that they see other people have. So they want it so bad when the relationship is not there. Because you're unhealthy and that man is unhealthy. Or vice versa if you're a man listening. So the goal is not to be in this relationship type goal or just to say that you have someone, but in being a relationship that's going to make you a healthier person and add value to your life and to others. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mrs. Danielle DeVita. Take care.